Today, we are diving into one of Silicon Valley's most foundational books, Peter Thiel's 0 to 1. It's really a masterclass on how to build companies that create things the world has never seen before. And it all kicks off with one deceptively simple question.
So Thiel asks this to pretty much everyone he interviews. And you have to wonder why. Well, because a good answer shows two things. First, that you can actually think for yourself. And second, maybe even more important, that you've got the guts to say what you think. As Thiel puts it, courage is in even shorter supply than genius. A great answer to this question points you toward a secret, a hidden opportunity. And that is where the future gets built.
Okay, let's get into the absolute core idea of the book. Progress, Thiel says, really comes in two flavors. You've got horizontal progress, or going from 1 to N. This is all about copying things that already work. It's globalization in a nutshell. But then there's vertical progress, going from 0 to 1. This is about creating something entirely new. That's what he calls technology. Building 100 more typewriters, that's 1 to N. But building the very first word processor, now that is 0 to 1. And Thiel's whole point is that to build a genuinely better future, we need a lot more of that 0 to 1 thinking.
All right, so to get to that 0 to 1 future, we first have to unlearn a few things. And we're going to start with one of the biggest, most ingrained ideas in business, the myth that competition is a good thing.
Now, this idea completely flips conventional wisdom on its head. We're all taught that capitalism is competition, right? But Thiel's point is actually pretty straightforward. Capitalism is about accumulating capital, making profits. But in a world of what economists call perfect competition, where everyone is selling the exact same stuff, all those profits get competed away until nobody makes any real money.
Just take a look at this data from 2012. The entire U.S. airline industry brought in $160 billion in revenue. That is a staggering amount of value being created. But the industry is so brutally competitive that for every person who flew, the airlines made a measly 37 cents in profit. Now, compare that to Google, which is a monopoly in search. They made less total revenue, sure, but they kept 21% of it as profit. That's a profit margin over 100 times bigger than the airlines.
And that leads us to this crucial takeaway. Building a great business isn't just about creating value for your customers. You have to be able to capture some of that value for yourself. The airlines create tons of value for society, but they capture almost none of it.
So if competition is a death trap, what's the goal? Well, according to Thiel, it's to build what he calls a creative monopoly. Now hold on, this isn't about illegally crushing your rivals or anything like that. It's about being so unbelievably good at what you do, so unique, that you create your own market where nobody else can really even compete with you.
So how do you actually build one of these? Thiel lays out 4 key things to look for. First up, proprietary technology that is at least 10 times better than whatever the next best thing is. Second, you need network effects, where your product gets more and more useful as more people join in. Third is economies of scale, which just means you get stronger as you get bigger. And finally, of course, a powerful, unmistakable brand.
Okay, let's move on to the second big myth that Thiel really wants to bust. After the huge dot-com crash back in 2000, Silicon Valley got really suspicious of big, grand plans. The thinking became, hey, the future is just too random to predict.
And this fear created 2 very different mindsets. On one side, you have indefinite optimism. This is the belief that, yeah, the future will probably be better, but you don't really have a plan for how. You just react to things as they happen. On the other side is definite optimism. This is the belief that the future will be better because you are going to plan it and work to make it that way. It's the mindset of the people who built the Golden Gate Bridge or put a man on the moon. And this really gets to the philosophical core of the whole book. Success isn't just a matter of luck or chance. It's the result of intentional design. You have agency. Believing in a definite future means you reject the idea that you're just a leaf in the wind, and you decide to actually build the world you want to see.
Okay, so if competition is the enemy and a definite plan is the goal, how do you actually go about building one of these future-changing companies?
It all starts by finding a secret. Now, a secret is just an important truth that most people don't know yet. Think about Airbnb seeing that empty rooms could be a global hotel network, or Uber realizing that anyone's personal car could be part of a new taxi fleet. These massive opportunities were literally hiding in plain sight. A great company is basically a conspiracy to change the world, built on a secret that you and your team share.
So where do you even look for these secrets? Thiel's answer is that you have to understand the power law.
This is the principle that in a ton of situations, a very, very small number of things are responsible for the huge majority of the results. So if you're hunting for a secret with massive potential, you've got to focus on those few areas where that kind of exponential growth is even possible and ignore all the others.
This is so incredibly true in venture capital. Just look at this. The single best investment in a successful fund will often bring back more money than all the other investments combined. So what's the lesson here? Don't spread yourself thin. You have to search relentlessly for that one singular idea, that one secret that has the potential to create truly exponential value.
So once you have that secret, the strategy is actually very clear. Start small. It is way, way easier to become a monopoly in a tiny, well-defined market. Find a small group of passionate users who desperately need what you're building. Once you completely own that niche, then and only then do you start expanding into related adjacent markets. It's exactly what Amazon did when they started with just books. And this brings us to another piece of startup advice that Thiel just flips on its head. Forget about being the first mover. That's not the goal. The real goal is to be the last mover. You want to be the one who makes the final, greatest development in a market, so that you can then enjoy decades of monopoly profits. That's how you build a company that actually lasts.
Which brings us right back to where we started, doesn't it? This question is the business version of Thiel's Big Contrarian Challenge. It's an invitation to look for a secret, to find a unique problem that you can solve, and to start that incredible journey from 0 to 1. Because the best paths, after all, are the ones that are new and untried.